So today I want to talk about Kawaki and this interesting personality he has developed in Boruto chapter 66. So the spoilers we got over the weekend. And I think this is really important to talk about because I think that this has severe implications for Kawaki, the Kawaki we saw in the time skip for Boruto. So this is really important to the story and I think this is worth getting into. So let's do it. So one thing I noticed while reading this chapter or the spoilers for this chapter is the difference between Kawaki's personality before he awakened this power and after he awakened this power. So even in the same chapter, or not even the same chapter, if we go back to chapter 65, the Kawaki's personality in that chapter is completely different from Kawaki's personality in this chapter. Kawaki was more loving, caring, more emotional, and once he awakened his power, he became somewhat of a robot with one set goal, and that is to protect Naruto at any cost, even the cost of killing his brother Boruto. Well, his pseudo brother, it's not really his real brother, but you guys know this. So one thing we know about this power is that it was basically reconstructed using the remainder of Isshiki's DNA or Isshiki's essence. So if this power is reliant on Kawaki tapping into Isshiki's essence, then could it be that Isshiki's essence is influencing Kawaki's behavior? Because one thing we know about, even in the real life, if you have a biological parent and you have their DNA, you're somewhat influenced by their genetics, right? So this could apply here as well, because if Kawaki's DNA is completely overwritten or 80% overwritten by Ishiki's DNA, then you could say that Ishiki's DNA can somewhat influence Kawaki's personality. Now, this is just a theory, so this is not completely proven, but I think this is the case here, because Kawaki wasn't acting this way before he tapped into Ishiki's full potential, which is going into his somewhat Kawashiki state. And we could draw a parallel between Borushiki and Kawashiki because Borushiki is basically Boruto tapping into the full potential or the somewhat full potential of Momoshiki's power to the point where Momoshiki himself starts to manifest and Boruto starts to grow a horn and all that lovely stuff. So he's directly tapping into Momoshiki's DNA at that point. The same thing with Kawaki. We see Kawaki growing a horn. He's somewhat looking like Isshiki, taking on the appearance of Isshiki in some sense, because he's tapping into Ishiki's DNA, tapping into the essence of Isshiki himself. The same thing with Borushiki. The only difference is that Boruto has Momoshiki's spirit and Momoshiki's spirit is still alive. So instead of Boruto taking on the essence of Momoshiki, Momoshiki's essence itself takes form in Boruto. So if you're gonna compare that to Kawaki, Kawaki doesn't have Ishiki's spirit. Ishiki's spirit is dead. So instead of Isshiki manifesting in Kawaki, Kawaki takes on the essence of Isshiki himself through the DNA of Isshiki. So this would explain Kawaki's cold, nonchalant behavior in this form. And we saw this before when Jigen first arrived at Naruto's home, when Kawaki first accessed this Kawashiki state, right? Kawaki was more evil, he was more demon-like. So this explains why Kawaki's personality is affected by going into this form, because this form is tapping more into the essence of Isshiki. So again, this would explain why Kawaki is the way he is in the time skip timeline, because that Kawaki is tapping into the power of Isshiki even more. Now my question then is, will this happen to Boruto as well? Because a lot of people are saying that Boruto might go evil and all that stuff. I disagree, but I do think his personality might be altered as well to be more serious. So it might be a case where, you know, the difference between season 1 Eren and season 4 Eren, so it might be a case where you get a more darker version of Boruto. I really think that's the case. So I think this theory has some weight to it. I'm not saying that it's definitely the case. Again, that's why I use the word theory. This is just a theory. And I think this could explain why we get that version of Kawaki in the time skip, because I think that's the biggest thing that people are really watching Boruto for. I'm not saying that there aren't other reasons and the show is not enjoyable or whatever. I'm saying that apart from seeing the characters grow and whatever and seeing where the story goes, I think one thing that people are really watching the story for or reading the manga for is to see what led to that change in Kawaki, what led to the time skip we saw, what could have changed Kawaki's personality that much or his aspirations that much that he would destroy the village and even maybe kill Naruto or send him somewhere. I think that's one of the reasons why people are really watching. People want to see what led to that, right? And I think that was a good strategy by the writers, and I think it's really paying off. Although I will say that it could cause issues because they may write themselves into a corner and be afraid to make certain changes because of what they showed us in the time skip. Because I think they have a lot of pressure on them for them to live up to the time skip. And I think this is, well, better for another video and, you know, for another time. But I'm just gonna say it here because since we're already talking about the time skip, right? I think they had an idea of what they're going to do, but in writing the story, they developed different ideas and so on. Because once you're going through a story, if you've ever written anything, once you're in the field of writing that shit, like, you get a lot of new ideas. So I understand them changing things, and I think they did put out a release saying that a lot of things are going to change, so it's not going to be the same thing we saw in the time skip video we got at the beginning of the series. So we might see some changes here and there in the design and the appearance of the characters, but I don't know about the story aspect of it because we didn't really get much. I don't think a lot will change as it relates to Kawaki destroying the village, or Boruto having the scar and having the Drogon and Kawaki being the evil one, I suppose. I don't think a lot of that will change, but I do think like some small story elements might change in the story. I think so. I really do think so. So I hope they know what they're doing and I hope they get it right. But this thing about Kawaki's personality, I just had it on my mind, and I think that it's a really neat idea. So if it's what they do come with as an explanation for why Kawaki's acting this way, I think most people will agree with it and will be okay with it, right? But if they come with something stupid and saying that, oh, Kawaki just had a change of heart and Kawaki was evil all the time and he just wanted power and all that yada yada stuff, and people trying to cope with it saying that, oh, this is expected, right? This is in the characterization for Kawaki. I honestly don't believe that. I'm repeating myself at this point, but I honestly don't believe that Kawaki would kill Boruto and not even shed a tear. Not even show a semblance of emotion on his face. Like, even if we're gonna say that it's in the characterization for Kawaki, him not even showing any form of remorse for killing Boruto doesn't make sense to me. I just have to say it, right? Not showing any sort of remorse for killing your brother that you claim to love. You know, it just does, even if it's to protect Naruto. Like, Naruto is saying, how far will you go? Like, I understand that, but if he was showing like some remorse and crying or some shit, I would say I understand. Like, he's doing this to protect Naruto or to save the village or whatever, and he's showing remorse for it and he's upset. But he's not even upset about doing it, right? He's just like, okay, bro, I'm gonna kill you. You ready? You ready for this? Okay, die. Like, that's what basically happened in the chapter. You ready? Okay, die, and you know, you're dead. You get me? Like, that's basically what happened. Like, no remorse, no emotion, anything. I don't think that's Kawaki. I think he's influenced by Isshiki. And I think they're going to explain it we maybe get it in chapter 67, because they already like, we already got the full spoilers for this chapter and we didn't get any mention of this like dialogue about Kawaki being influenced by Isshiki. So we might get that in 67. Maybe we see Kawaki revert back to his human form and realize what he's done, and then we get that emotional reaction, and then that would imply that while he's in that state he's not feeling anything, right? So I think that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, if you guys like the theory, drop it in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. If you like the video, drop a like as well, and remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when I post new content. But above all else, have a great day. Peace.